Well, I was all set to be mad. I guess not mad. I was happy with MLB the Show yesterday, and I was ready to be mad today because today was the day that MLB the Show 24 dropped their player ratings, and of course, it instantly draws ire out of me because I know that the Arizona Diamondbacks players are not going to be valued nearly as high as I value them, and that upsets me. However, I was pleasantly surprised this round around. Maybe it's because the Diamondbacks made the World Series. Maybe they're getting their credit. They do have a cool little celebration video because 24 does have team celebrations, and their celebration video is them just in the pool in the new white jerseys, just completely see-through at that point because it's wet and it's already see-through material. That's not safe for work, folks. But what is safe for work is these ratings because, man, we got some ratings, and these are the Arizona Diamondbacks top 5 rated players. For those of you listening on the audio side, Zach Gallen has a 91 overall. Corbin Carroll has a 91 overall. Ketel Marte has an 89. Christian Walker has an 88. And Merrill Kelly rounds out the top 5 with an 83. This is really good.
Yeah.
I found myself only getting mad about one thing, which we will get to. But let's start with the positive. I want to accentuate the positives here. Zach Gallen, Corbin Carroll, 90-plus players. Absolutely great to see.
Yeah, I think that's probably about what I would have said for both of those guys, like somewhere in the low 90 range. Christian Walker, 88. We touched on this earlier. It feels like Christian Walker's agent reached out to MLB the Show and was like, "This is a contract year.
Yeah,
we need to up this a few more points.
Sign bats, sign jerseys, whatever. We'll get it for you."
In no way do I think I don't really think it's too high. It's just that MLB the Show doesn't generally give players who have tons of defensive value the rating that they probably deserve. It feels like it's more based off of batting average and home runs and that kind of thing. Which Christian Walker is pretty decent at those things too. I would have expected him to be more low mid 80s though.
Like Merrill, 83, 84. He was an 84 last year, and he thought it was totally fine. I remember when they did his reveal.
Christian Walker?
Christian Walker. Yeah. He thought that was great, and so I'm sure he's very pleased with an 88. But if anything, I think Christian Walker probably maybe a little higher than I expected. Everybody else right where I expected them to be. The only issue I have is that I think these are the only player ratings we know up to this point for the Diamondbacks. So we do not know at this point where Gabby Moreno. Can you find that information for me? I think Jesse's trying to.
I think there's a database that has more, but it doesn't match.
That looks like last year's.
Yeah, it does look like last year's.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat is telling us Kevin Ginkel is a 92.
I don't believe that at all.
That would really be something.
He should be.
He should be.
Big if true.
Maybe we should burn the offices to the ground until they...
95. Ryan Thompson, a 94. Paul Sewald.
Just horses in the pen.
Yeah, basically. That's where I would give it to. Gabriel Moreno. No Gabby Moreno in the top 5. Gabby would be a lower than an 83. Maybe he's right there like an 80. Maybe he's right there in 81.
Yeah, I would.
But I'm ready to burn PlayStation's entire house down if he's in the 70s.
I think that's fair. I think you should probably pursue doing
Damon,
that.
What you free this weekend?
You know I'm in for arson.
I just wanted to make sure.
Gabriel Moreno is very much deserving of being at least an 80 for sure. I don't know if it's an 81 or an 85 or whatever it is, but probably north of 80. What he gives you defensively is obviously incredible. Trying to catching base stealers with Gabriel Moreno, I'm sure is something that people will get a lot of enjoyment out of. And offensively, his contact rating has to be pretty high for sure. And he's a career 290 hitter at this point. And from a power standpoint, we saw a lot more of that at the end of the year. So I guess a lot of it just depends on how much do the MLB the Show people read into the increased power numbers toward the end of the season. If they're looking at the power on the whole in the regular season, it wasn't anything crazy. But there's definitely a case for him to be more in the mid 80 range than the low 80s.
I do need to have a word with MLB the Show and MLB in general about them being really excited about adding quick time events to video games. QuickTime events have been around in video games since the 1980s. I don't know if you guys remember Dragon's Lair, but more importantly, it's not a new thing, and you shouldn't really be that excited about it because I think people are kind of over it. That was the only thing that MLB The Show has done in the last, 5 years that made me think, that's not nearly as exciting. But that was me going off on my video game nerd tangent, so excuse me for losing all of you guys. I am excited about this, though, because, why does it matter? I want the Diamondbacks to be very good in this game. I think that's a fair thing. I think that
sure.
Ever since I was a kid, when my team did well, I was so excited to go get the video game the next year. Because once again, showing my age and my video game nerdiness, there was a time where your ratings didn't update online automatically because you were connected to the internet. Yeah, no, you used to just get a cartridge and whatever their ratings were on that game was what they were. So sometimes when your team was good, that was my year to make sure I bought that. The next year was the year I bought that version of the game. That's why for me, I feel like this is absolutely exciting thing for MLB The Show 24. I can't wait for, not only the additions we talked about yesterday and all the things that they've already added to it, but for the Diamondbacks to be one of the best teams in the game. And I'm sure they won't be.
I'm very curious.
But I'm sure they'll be up there. Like in the National League, I wouldn't be surprised if they're probably the fourth best team in the National League, which seems fair to me.
Yeah, maybe it goes Dodgers, Braves, Phillies, D-backs, something like that. I think it's pretty realistic.
I think that's pretty fair.
Do you think that Merrill Kelly is too low? I'm surprised that wasn't something you're angry about.
No,
83?
It's because
Damon thinks he's too low.
I think 85, 86 would have been where I think he should have been at.
Yeah, I think the stats last year proved that Merrill Kelly was right up there with Zach Gallen. So if Zach Gallen's a 91, I don't know how you would make the case to me that Merrill Kelly is an 83, right?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think you and I just talked about this yesterday. Merrill Kelly does not get the recognition he deserves. He's not an underrated player by Diamondbacks fans, but he's an underrated player nationally. So that, again, I think the biggest thing here is there's no surprises. If I was being honest, I think Corbin Carroll's right where he needs to be. I put Zach Gallen even up a little bit more at a 93. I would put Merrill Kelly higher at an 87 or an 88, and that's
a lot of people on Twitter thought Cattell needed to be higher.
I think
89.
I think Cattell's.
I think that's pretty fair. If you're expecting Cattell to be in the 90s, I'm not saying that's outrageous, but that's not. He's a good player. He's a very good player.
You've made the case that he could be a better player than Corbin this year, and so far from what we've seen out of him this spring, things are definitely tracking in that way because he's hitting the cover off the ball. But Cattell's one of those guys, right? Cattell's had better seasons when it was less important for the team, and last year, he had a great season. But I don't know how you don't watch him in the postseason and think, that guy just made history in a game that's been around for 2,000 years. Maybe we should make him a 90. Can we just bump him up that 1 point to a 90? Maybe he deserves that just for the hitting streak in the postseason. I think that there's some people missing here that should be probably right on the fringe, not too much further down. I'm interested to see where Eduardo Rodriguez lands, because he's one of those guys that, again, it's up for interpretation as far as how you see him as a pitcher, and they could value him very highly, or they could see him as kind of being a mediocre starting pitcher. Gabby, Lourdes. Lourdes better have the purple hair in the game, and it better be out a lot. When he walks out to the field, I'm just telling you guys now over there, he doesn't actually wear his hat. He just kind of puts it on the back and lets the front hang out. So that better be in the video game. That's more important to me than the rating, honestly.
Yeah, apparently they've kind of revamped the faces. I think that the faces are supposed to look better in 2024 than they have in the past. But yeah, I think Lourdes maybe in the low 80s would make sense. Erod, I am also very curious where he winds up.
Yeah.
A lot of times these ratings are more based on kind of the surface level stats, and Erod's surface level stats were really good last year. He had a 3.30 ERA with the Tigers. So if he were a 77 or 78 after coming off that would be a little weird.
And also Jock, right? Is it going to be based on Jock last year? Or is it going to value Jock
That one I kind of understand him being a little lower because his surface stats last year weren't anything spectacular. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They just give us this little appetizer.
A little taste.
Just the top 5.